Hi, I'm Larry Richardson, your step-by-step chef. I believe it was Mark Twain who said, if you want to insult a man, tell him how to make a fish taco. Well, that's what I'm about to do. I'm about to tell you how to make a fish taco. And it's my style of fish taco, and you probably have your own style. If I insult you, well, I'm sorry. So let me show you how to make a step-by-step chef fish taco. Come on! Here's the ingredients we need for our blackened fish tacos. We need a half a pound of fish. In this case, I have some flounder. You can also use halibut, cod, or any white fish at all will do. I mean, heck, some people would even make this with salmon, so it's totally up to you what fish you want to use. We're also going to make guacamole, and that requires avocado, onion, Tabasco, some lime, and some salt. For blackening the fish, we're going to use a pre-made blackening season. And they do sell all kinds of different blackened seasons. I really like the Andy Roos. I'm not plugging them. You can buy whatever one you want. But I do recommend getting a blackened seasoning because it really makes this fish taste great in a taco. And the other thing we're going to make with this dish is we're going to make a sort of a mixture of onion and cilantro. The onion and cilantro mixture makes the taco taste very fresh. And usually what I do is I serve it either with the guacamole or with the onion and cilantro. It just gives you a choice and it tastes really good. And the final thing we need is four tortillas. And you can use corn or flour. Now this is going to make 2 servings. If you want to make more, then just, double the ingredients. But now I'm going to show you how to make it, and it is delicious. Okay, so I put the fish back in the fridge with the butter so they don't go bad while I'm making the garnishes, while I'm making the sauces basically for our tacos. So I want to make the guacamole first. So let's take the avocado, slice it in half. Now when you're shopping for avocados, pick them up and give them a squeeze. There should be a little bit of give. If there's some give, that means that they're ripe and they're ready to go. If they're real solid, put them back. They're not ready to prepare guacamole with. So make sure they have a little bit of give. And if they're too soft and your fingers literally go through the skin, they're probably rotten. So as you can see, this avocado is very ripe and ready to roll. So I'm taking the outer skin off, just peeling that down. There we go. And I'll do that with the other half. Get rid of this nut. Gone. And just peel it out. Okay. What's the sound of one man rinsing his hands? That's it. So next what we're going to do is prepare the onion. Now, I'm not going to take all of this onion. This is a large Vidalia onion. I love Vidalia onions because they're sweet. And what we're going to do is use half of it in this and half of it in the cilantro mix that we talked about earlier. So I'm taking all of the paper off the outside. If this inside is a little bit rough, then take that next layer off too. You don't want to serve a chewy guacamole. Okay? And then what I'm going to do is just score the top. And I like the onion very fine in my guac. So I'm making these lines probably as usual, about 1/8 of an inch thick. 1/8 of an inch seems to be my favorite measure for most of the dishes that I've been making as the step-by-step chef. There we go. And then I'm just going to cut down the front of it. And how much onion you want to add is totally up to you. That's probably about enough. I don't want to overpower it with onion. So I'm adding the onion into the bowl with the avocado. And then what I'm going to do is add some salt. This is probably just about 1/4 teaspoon of salt, if you like to do exact measures. And it's about a quarter teaspoon, maybe an eighth of a teaspoon of our Tabasco sauce. The Tabasco gives it a nice little kick. And if you don't like heat at all, do not add Tabasco. Now what I'm going to do is cut our lime in half and squeeze it into the guacamole mix. Now the lime serves two functions. Not only does it taste great, but it also helps to preserve the guacamole. Anyone who's made guacamole before knows if you leave it out for too long, it turns brown quick. And the lime is one way to slow that process down a little bit. Again, add the lime to taste. The first time you make it, you might want to add just half of the lime, because if you overdo it, the lime can absolutely take over your guacamole and make it too tart. So it's to taste ultimately, so you want to experiment. So I'd recommend that the first time you do it, just add half the lime, taste the guacamole. If you like it, then add that that second half of the lime. It's really to taste. Some people do like it tart. So here we go. I'm just crushing up the avocado into the mixture. And make it real smooth. I mean, sometimes you can make it chunky, but I think when you're making it for fish tacos, the smoother the better. Because this is really like one of those fish taco sauces that people make with mayonnaise, which personally I don't really prefer, but some people do. And I let the guacamole, which is much fresher and more natural than making things with mayonnaise, stand in for it. I'm going to give that a little taste. Perfect. Now what I'm going to do is prepare our cilantro onion mix. And this is something that, I don't know why, it just grabbed me. There was one of the restaurants was serving this as one of the sauce options with tacos. And I thought it was just plain delicious. It's so fresh tasting. You can put so many different things on a taco, but this one is a winner, an absolute winner. And yet it's so simple. Not all cooking has to be complicated to be delicious. So I did that same thing. I scored the top of the onion. And this is probably, it's about a quarter cup of onion. There we go. And then what I'm going to do is take the cilantro that I rinsed off already and just take the leaves and drop them into it. And you can break the leaves up a little bit if you don't like, about that size. And if you like it smaller, just tear the little pieces off. I'm probably not going to use all of this cilantro. As usual, it's probably about a quarter cup of cilantro that's going into this. Cilantro, honestly, it's not my favorite vegetable to work with because it's delicious, but it's so delicate that it's just hard to do it. And I don't like stemmy cilantro. So I really do take the time to take all the leaves off when I'm making something like this. Sometimes you can put in a food processor for flavoring, but you're not going to get the same texture. So it's a little bit time consuming if you don't like the stems. If you don't mind the stems, you can literally just take a knife to the top of this and just chop it right down and throw stems and the leaves and all right into this mix. It's a matter of taste. But cilantro, man, does it smell good. It's one of my favorite vegetables. Or, I guess you could call it an herb, too. Takes you back to Mexico smelling cilantro. And cilantro is very strong too, so it doesn't take a lot of cilantro to make a good tasting dish. And if you can't get cilantro, you literally could just take the onion that we just cut up, the 1/4 cup of onion, and add cumin to it, because cumin is basically dried cilantro. It will give it the exact same taste, just not the freshness. And that's why I take the time to try to hunt down cilantro when I'm making this dish. It's worth it. But I know in some areas it's very hard to find fresh cilantro, and certainly at certain times of years too. Certain times of year. So I'm just going to keep adding this into it. And again, this is another area where you can do it to taste. If you like lots of cilantro, keep going. You know, keep breaking these leaves down into it. I know if I didn't speed it up, it would be like watching paint dry. So I tried to speed this up a little bit. And that'll do it. Oops, one more stem. Okay, that'll do it. So what I'll do is just take the tip of my knife and work the cilantro into it. So it's mixed up with the onion. And again, if you're a purist, you can cut the cilantro down into smaller pieces and mix it into the onion. But I kind of like a little bit of grit to this, because it's going right on the fish tacos. So I'm going to set that aside, and we'll get started on the fish tacos. Now, before we start blackening the fish, there's 2 things I want to do. And one of them is required, I think, anyways. It's to chop the remainder of the onion, because if you blacken the fish with the onion, it will add that flavor to it. I really like a little freshness to everything I cook, and this will do it. So I'm going to chop this onion a little bit finer. And then there's an option that I think you can consider, is if you like your fish tacos on the hot side, why not throw a little bit of red chili pepper in it? Because this will add some heat to that fish, even more so than the Cajun blackened seasoning that we're going to use. Whenever you get a chance to inject a little bit of freshness into whatever you're making, take it. I think a motorcycle just drove right through my studio. And that should do it. That'll be the mixture that we'll add in with the blackening fish. Now the blackening process with the fish is going to happen pretty fast. So what I like to do is warm up the tortillas ahead of time. So I'm taking 2 of the corn tortillas and adding them into a pan. The heat is on just under medium. So you just want to have it enough to warm the tortillas. And what you do as they're warming is you don't want them to burn. So you'll kind of flip them like this, and then you'll take the top one and flip that like that. And you just want to make sure that both sides get a little bit browned in this process. And the browning process probably takes about, depending on the tortillas you have, anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes. And the fresher the tortillas you can get, the better. If you have a place that provides, pretty much right out of the machine tortillas, then certainly buy them. So now we're going to blacken the fish. So first I want to add our butter to the pan. Get it all melted down. Make sure to put your fan on and maybe unplug your smoke detectors, because blackening anything is a pretty smoky experience. Just make sure to plug your smoke detectors back in after you prepare this meal. The butter's all melted, so I'm going to throw in our onion and red chili pepper mixture. Let's give that a nice quick saute. Now while you're doing this, occasionally again, you're going to have to flip your tortillas to make sure they don't just burn on one side. So keep an eye on them. There we go. We have that butter and onion and red chili pepper juice all mixed in. So now what I want to do is I'm going to put the fish in the pan. So I covered the fish on one side with our Cajun blackened seasoning, as you can see, and I'm putting it face down, right on the seasoning. And then what I'll do is just sprinkle more seasoning on this side because we will have to flip it. And absolutely get rid of that pan that had the fresh fish in it. You don't want to have that around. You don't want to reuse it when you take the fish out of this pan. Get a fresh plate for this. Now let's work some of that onion mixture in with the fish. Now flounder is very delicate. Most white fishes are not this delicate. The flounder will break up pretty fast. But what you want to do is make sure that the fish is cooked all the way through, and at this heat it should be cooked through in about 10 minutes. If you have a thicker piece of fish, it may take as much as 15. But you can tell when it's done because it will just flake when you touch it with a spatula. Get all that delicious flavor right into the fish. And while I'm doing this, I'm occasionally breaking to let it get. And this fish is crumbly. It's perfect for our intent. It's perfect for our fish tacos. There we go. Now I don't want to break it into too small pieces because literally with flounder it will fall apart into nothing. So I'm just making, you know, just smaller pieces, but I don't want to go to town on it. And there we go. I'm going to take this off the heat. Okay, with my favorite fish taco recipe, you have two options. The first one is to take some of the fish, put the fish on one half of the tortilla, which is browned. It's a nice brown corn tortilla. You can also do this with flour. There we go. And what I would do is take some of the guacamole and just put it on half of it. So that's one version. The other version is to take some of this fish, put it on half of this tortilla, and add this mixture. This is our cilantro onion mixture. Very, very fresh tasting. There we go. So that's the two versions of the fish tacos that I prefer. And you know, you can pretty much make it any way you like. You might want to mix and match these two sauces together. You might want to add some pico de gallo or salsa, whatever you have on hand. But really, with fish tacos, you want to make it to your taste. It is such a fun dish to make, and it is such a controversial dish to make. There are so many different ways to do this, and the people who love fish tacos have their own opinion. Congratulations, look at what you did. You made fish tacos. Now this is my version of fish taco. You might have your own version just based on what we made today. If you can think of ways to make it taste better to you, then go to town on it. Make the fish tacos of your dream. And meantime, what I'd like you to do is take a look at my step-by-step chef playlist on YouTube, because I have many more recipes that are delicious and nutritious and easy to make. So until next time, I'm Larry Richardson, your step-by-step chef.